Hello and welcome back to another exciting episode of 7th grade social studies. Today we are having the exciting sequel to the blockbuster video, The French and Indian War, Causes of the French and Indian War. This is part 2 of the French and Indian War, which is kind of just wrapping up this note sheet right here, the one number 1, the one you should have labeled number 1. We are going to wrap up the notes hopefully today, if you have not, or at least most of the notes for now. All right, so if you have not already filled in this sheet, that means you probably missed this part, because this part, the causes, although we talked about them in class, the filling of the notes was in the last video, which was French and Indian War 1, which, if you are in the gray group, was assigned last Monday, the 23rd, or if you were Cherry, it would have been Friday the 20th. But several people missed this, so you need to make sure you go back and look for the folder and make sure you do this one. Same with the sentence expansion. Expanding sentences you should have done twice now. The first one and then the sequel, where you had a chance to improve on your first ones, because the first ones weren't always so great. So you made the second ones great again, or for the first time great. And these were on Monday of this week or Tuesday of last week, depending on your cohort. And then today, this French and Indian War Part 2, you are watching hopefully either on Tuesday the 1st or on Wednesday the 2nd, depending on your cohort. And to locate them, you have to look in the past Schoology folders. So in the previous week, we are now in the second quarter. The first quarter is done, too late to do any of that. Second quarter, Unit 3 is what we are on here, and it would be in these two folders. Your colors might be different, but that's the folders we're looking at. All right, now on to our show. Important things to remember: Albany Plan of Union and the British victory. We talked about these things in class. You may have gotten the notes down, but if not, we're going to go through it really quickly here as well. You might remember the Albany Plan of Union was this man, Ben Franklin's plan to join together the colonies, these 13 colonies, which at the time were completely separate entities. He wanted to join them together. He called for a meeting in Albany, New York, and he suggested that the colonies, if they wanted to survive, they would have to join together, or they would die. Now, this plan does not go as planned by Ben Franklin. It gets rejected. So this was Ben Franklin's unsuccessful plan. It was rejected because the colonies did not want to give up their own power and independence. The other thing to know is that the British and the colonies and the Iroquois officially won the war, which ended with the Treaty of Paris, signed in Paris, France in 1763. So you can pause here if you did not fill in these notes. I know I don't like to do this, but I'm trusting you guys today. It's a fresh start. You're watching the video. You're not just fast forwarding, looking through this, but you can pause it here and make sure you have this filled in if you did not already do so. This is on the bottom of sheet 1. Then on to the top of sheet 1. What happens as a result? I'm sorry, not the top, the back side. As a result of the British victory, what's going to happen? Well, as we talked about in class, or will talk about in class, the French are going to lose all their territory. Look down here. French territory is this yellowish color. This was all New France, and now France has gone. They have been pushed off of the North American continent. They have Haiti over here, and they have an island up here, but for the most part, France is gone out of North America, and all of this becomes British territory. Everything east of the Mississippi River. Here's the Mississippi River. Everything east of it is now under British control. To the west of the Mississippi River is now controlled by Spain. So again, I'm trusting you here. You're watching the video, but you can fill in the notes. the British and colonies, the British/colonies victory forced France to give up its land claims in North America. Britain now claimed all land east of the Mississippi River and the Iroquois, their allies, the Iroquois. This opened up new lands for settlers from the 13 colonies, but led to more conflicts with Native Americans as settlers took their lands, meaning the Native Americans' lands. Note, Spain claimed all lands to the west of the Mississippi River. Okay. Moving on. This is the land that has been gained. All of this land in this lighter color pink, it says Indian Reserve. Interestingly, because once they got this land and these colonies were anxious to expand westward into these territories, the king, King George, says not so fast. He is going to put a pause on it. He is going to proclaim, here's a proclamation by the king. He is going to proclaim that this land west of this line, west of the Appalachian Mountains, is off limits to the English settlers. It says no good, can't go there. Which the Native Americans probably enjoyed because their lands are protected for a little bit at least. The colonies, not so much. And as you can see, you can fill in the notes here, you can pause it. Make sure you underline this part, because when I ask you what was the Proclamation of 1763, I don't want you to tell me this part. I want you to tell me this part, that it would outlawed any settlement west of the Appalachian Mountains. The law was unpopular with colonies who claimed land in the West. Many ignored it or broke the law. Britain sends troops over to enforce it. In order to pay for the troops and the debts from the war, the British government decides to start to tax the colonies. Now, you need to make a note to yourself here. If you don't know what a tax is money paid to a government. Taxes are monies paid to a government, or a tax is money paid to a government. They will have a series of taxes, the first of which is going to be something called the Sugar Act. An act is another name for a law. So Parliament, the British legislature, passes this law called the Sugar Act, which puts a tax on sugar and molasses, which is basically liquid sugar as far as I understand it. That will not make the colonists happy. They're going to become even more angry the next year with a law called the Stamp Act. Now, this was a tax on newspapers, legal documents, playing cards, and other papers. And it was called the Stamp Act because all of these paper products had to be stamped with a special stamp to show that the taxes had been paid on these products. This is going to get the colonists really upset. Now, not ready to declare independence. If I ask you that on a quiz, hint, hint, they're not yet ready to declare independence, but they're kind of not so happy with the mother country. And their argument is not just that they don't like taxes, but they say these taxes are unfair because they say these taxes are taxation without representation. The colonies believe it is unfair for Parliament. Now you need to make a note, make sure you know this. Parliament is the British legislature. They thought it was unfair for Parliament to tax the colonies because the colonies had no representation in Parliament. Parliament, the British legislature, remember, a legislature is a group that makes laws. So Parliament was made up of representatives from lots of parts of Britain, but no representatives from the colonies. So the colonies feel like they are being taxed, but they cannot give their consent. They cannot give their permission. They cannot agree to this. So therefore, it is taxation without representation, which they think is unfair. Okay, so if you need to finish up the notes here, you can pause that. And make sure that you get all of your other assignments done as well. And just have fun doing that. That is all. Thank you.